Well, hello, everybody. Thank you. I'm sorry, I got all choked up right at the beginning. And I should, because this is going to be a powerful episode of Self Publishing Insiders with Draft to Digital. And we are talking with Kerrie Flanagan, who's going to share. I'm sorry, Kerrie. I'm sorry. This has to be a typo. It says 25 years of publishing, and there's just no way that you
It's
have been
true.
around for even
I
25
have.
years on this earth. So,
Well, thank you, but I have been. I've
so
been
have
around
I.
a long time.
So, well, good, and I'm always happy to have people on who can share their wisdom, over the past decade or two of this business. This business has changed so much
Mhm.
in just
Yes.
even just the past like 3 years. I mean, we've had
Yeah,
a ridiculous number of changes happen in the past 6 months. I mean,
absolutely.
there's been game changers happening all over the place. So,
Hmm.
but welcome to the show. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom on this.
Well, thanks for having me.
And you're no stranger to self-publishing insiders. You were on an episode previously,
I was.
and you had your writing partner with you at that point.
Oh,
Is that
yes.
correct?
Yes, there was one with a writing partner, but I think I was also on with Crave Books because I work part
Oh,
time
with
with
Crave
Crave
Books.
Books.
Yeah, that's
That's what
what
it
it
was.
was.
Yep,
Yeah, Crave Books is cool. When we could talk a
I think
little bit
so.
about that too. Anyway, so when you come on with a show title like 25 years, lessons learned in 25 years, the very first thing I gotta know is like, what's the biggest, most important lesson learned in
Oh, geez.
25 years of publishing?
Okay, jumping right
Just,
into
we're
what's
just
the
gonna
most.
jump on it. We're a feet first company. We jump right
Yes.
in, both feet.
Okay. Um, I guess the most. God, there's so many. That's why I wrote them all
Mm,
down.
we can ease
I guess if
into
I
it.
was to pick one, like if I could only say one thing to people, it's a long game. This is not
Yeah,
something you do and go, "Ooh, I have a book. I'm going to slap it up on Draft to Digital, put it out there for the world, and that's it. I'm going to be a billionaire." It
yeah.
doesn't work that way.
That almost never happens.
No,
Almost never.
no.
Yeah, that's a good one too, because that's I think a very tough one for. That's a tough one for me, and I've been in this business
Hmm.
at least 25 years. But it's been a rough go for me. So I know people coming in like that idea of put it out there, but now there's more work to do. That whole like
Hmm.
I just killed myself to write this book, and now I've got to do marketing and other stuff. I mean, so that long tail idea is a tough one. How do you deal with that?
Um, how do you deal with patience, which I'm not very good at? I don't have a lot of patience, but
That's right.
you have to have patience and then keep going. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Like we put your first book out, you're like, this is great. Now I can just sit back and just let it happen. But to get your mind off of the maybe the lack of sales for the first book, because it's really hard to just sell one book. Unless you're
Yeah.
nonfiction, that's a little different. If you're an expert in a field and you have one book that talks about
Yeah.
that, that's great. But for
Yeah.
fiction, you just got to keep going. That's the only way to get past that stress of just having
You,
one book out there.
Yeah, you bring up a very good point, by the way, with nonfiction. Before I get to it, though, I want to remind everybody if you're out there, you're watching, you got a question, you just can't hold it. Uh, Good news, you can put that question in the comments, and we're going to try to get to those on air. But even if we can't, there's folks in the comments right now who are just itching to answer your questions. So you will get an answer. Yeah, nonfiction. The big benefit of nonfiction is that it's kind of instantly discoverable because you're answering a question,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Right.
But that's
It's
that not quite true of novels.
no, and I have two traditionally published books as well as and then 22 self-published. So one of my traditionally published books is nonfiction. And the
Hmm.
thing is, it has a much longer shelf life as well if there's not a lot on that topic. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's a good thing, but
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
nonfiction, yes. And
That's true.
fiction lasts as long as we choose to market it. I mean, it really is. If
Right.
I continue to market, our first fantasy book came out in 2019 and it continues to do well because I continue to market.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because even if time catches up with you, like you wrote something current, It just becomes a period piece
Right.
eventually. And then if
There you
you
go.
wrote science fiction or fantasy, if you wrote science fiction that just doesn't pan out, then that's just alternate reality now.
There you go. It works. It works.
It's all about the marketing spin.
It really
So,
is. And I
oh,
always say it's always new to some reader who just found it. It really
exactly.
is. So
Yeah,
it
yeah,
doesn't matter. Like this idea, this old idea, and traditional publishing still does it. And I have nothing against traditional publishing. We got to figure out, what route works for
yeah,
us. I do
yeah,
both. But this idea that you have 4 to 6 months to market your book, if it doesn't hit, then it's dead. That's so not true. That's why the
yeah.
long game comes in. As long as you keep marketing, you can market your backlist forever. Well, as long as you're
Yeah.
alive, I suppose. Not forever.
Well, you could do it forever. Well, they got
Yeah,
all kinds of automated stuff now. Plus,
there you go.
you've got your family
Just
just
set it up.
carries on. I mean, they're
There you
still
go.
marketing Tolkien books, right? I mean, so
That's very
uh,
true. Yeah.
got lots of those guys still floating around there. I'm good friends with a guy who took over writing the Bram Stoker Dracula books.
Oh, really?
So
Nice.
yeah, so even the old timers are still floating around. So yeah, okay. So the long game, that's definitely a
Yep.
lesson.
Yep.
And you've talked about a little bit about like some of the you have strategies for long game. I mean, are there things authors should be thinking about?
Yes. And one of the things that I have learned, because we didn't do it initially, and anytime I say we, it's because my most current, the last 4 or 5 years, I've been working with a co-author, and
Yeah,
we
yeah,
write under the name C.G. Harris with the
yeah,
sci-fi and fantasy. But newsletters, I cannot
yeah,
stress newsletters enough. For years, we did not, because I'm like, oh, that's a lot of work. Why
yeah,
put in the work, right? Well,
right,
you're missing out on connecting with readers who really enjoy your books.
yeah,
So we had a list of about 50 people, like we had been to Comic Cons and connected with people, and like periodically sent out a newsletter. It's not a great way to connect with your readers, especially if you're going to put out more books.
yeah,
So I finally dug in my heels, because I do most of the marketing with the books that I do with my co-author.
mhm,
Um, and I decided, all right, it's time. So take that 50, start using Story Origin, Book Funnel, Crave Books, whatever we can do to
yeah.
build up those readers with newsletter swaps, group promos. And our list is nearly at 5,000 now.
Wow,
And I clean the list out every 6 months. So, 30% open rate, which is not bad. So
not bad.
it takes work, and we're
Yeah,
consistent. 2 a
yeah,
month. I do 2 a month. And
2 a month.
yep. And if
Yeah,
that's too much, do 1, but make it consistent. So some people, that's a lot of work. I do this
yeah,
full time, so it works for me. But if somebody has a full-time job and they're doing their self-publishing, maybe once
yeah,
a month.
yeah, yeah. I've actually been doing once a week lately. Actually, not
Wow.
lately, for years.
Nice.
And I got a lot of pushback from other authors over that because the unsubscribes are incredible when you're doing a newsletter every week, but then they level off, and then it's just growth. That's what
Right.
I've discovered.
Right.
Like the people who don't want an email every week, they're definitely going to unsubscribe.
Right.
But the rest of them become like super fans. Like they just,
Exactly.
if you miss a week, they let you know about it. So
And that's good. And
yeah,
that's what you want. You want those super fans. You want those dedicated readers. The
yeah,
others, they got on my list because they picked up the reader magnet. Okay.
right,
Well,
right.
and then it's my job to see if I can keep them there. But if not, that's all right.
I got these folks coming in on like my Substack and stuff, and I'm like, you know
Ooh.
what you're in for. If you're subscribed, you know, you should know. So okay, so newsletters, absolutely great idea.
Yep.
Absolutely a must. What are some of the other authors are always looking for the magic bullet. What's the magic bullet that's going to get
Jeez.
them $1 million in sales tonight?
Stop thinking there's a magic bullet. I mean,
You're right.
seriously, there is
Right.
no magic bullet. Like that's what we want. And unfortunately, there's companies out there that prey on that idea. And I always
Yeah.
warn self-published, people looking into it, please, please, please be careful which companies you
Yeah.
use to help you. There's great ones out there,
Yeah.
but there's also people who are hoping that you really want your book out there fast, and
Yep.
and they charge a lot of money. So be careful. I know that was a little bunny trail, my soapbox. I'll get off that now.
No, that's the kind of thing we want, right? We
Yeah.
want to know,
Yeah.
authors need to know that, not
Yes.
everyone out there who's appears to be helpful is your friend. So you
I
should
agree.
be, looking at these folks with a little bit of caution.
Yes. Research.
Yeah.
And what can be helpful, this is another uh, thing I have learned, is how important connections are
Yeah.
with other authors and connections with your readers at your newsletter, but definitely meeting other people, because then you can talk to other people and go, oh,
Yeah.
I came across this company, and has anybody else used them? So Facebook groups, there's so many great active Facebook groups out there for
Yeah.
authors. And just a little side note, another soapbox. I have quite a few soapboxes. Um,
That's right.
if you get in an author Facebook group, it's not a place to market your book.
Right.
So just, yeah, just don't
What's
do
it
that.
for? What do you do? What's the point of a Facebook author group?
It's to talk to people and ask questions and put
Yeah.
out struggles and challenges. And like, I'm looking and I want to go wide. I've been in KU. I want to go wide. And of course, I would say you need to get on Draft to Digital and get your book wide on all the platforms, in the
Yeah. And
libraries,
then
on other
use Crave
subscriptions.
Books. Use
Yes.
Crave Books.
Yes, great
Uh,
book. So connections, and like I met Mark Lefebvre at a conference 10 years ago here in Colorado. I was
mm,
speaking on self-publishing and he came up after, and now we're good friends, but he's also there if I have questions on things, and he's reached out to me and for questions. It's
yeah.
just super, super helpful. And if anyone sees me at a conference, like if you're going to Vegas in November, please say hello. I do love talking with other authors. I really do. So
That is
I come up and say hello.
that's one thing about this business for sure. And I think it applies to equally to traditional publishing and
Mhm,
self-publishing, that
mhm.
authors are usually we're very helpful to each other
Mhm.
because we know what the struggle was like. I've definitely
Right.
met some authors on the traditional
Yeah.
side and some on the self-publishing side who are kind of standoffish and don't want to
Yeah.
interact much. But overwhelmingly, the most of the authors I meet or interview, they tend to really want to help other authors do what they've done. I mean, they just
Right.
genuinely understand.
Right. And I'm always open to questions because I want to help because I've been there. We've all been there.
Right.
No author has started at a different place. We've all started with a blank page. We write something down, then we want to get it out there. We've all started there. So it's just good practice to help each other and support
Yeah.
each other and lift each other up. I may be
Who
further along on a journey, on this writing journey after
yeah,
25 years, but
yeah.
I'm willing to answer questions, help people out.
Who are some of the authors who've helped you out that had the biggest influence on your career?
Oh, authors, like people
Doesn't
I
have to be authors, but
right.
anybody
Well, I'm
who
thinking back,
yeah.
like who helped me, even though they may not know it along the way. When I first started, I was listening. Well, not when I first started. This will be like more current, but like Joanna Penn on the Creative
Yeah.
Pen,
Yeah.
religiously listened to her podcast to help learn and learn more about the
She
business.
has some really good ad reads on that podcast.
Oh,
For
she's
Draft to
amazing.
Digital,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm joking. We sponsor her show, so I do an ad
Yes,
read on her show. So,
yes,
uh,
do know that. But
yeah.
um, when I didn't show you, I want to show you this. When I first
Okay.
started, my very first self-published book was in 1998.
Okay. Wow.
Amazon was not a thing. Print on
No.
demand was not a thing. And I was an elementary school teacher, brand new, teaching 8-year-olds how to use commas in a list. They don't
Right.
really care. They don't care. So I went home and like, ooh, what could I do? I'll write a book. And it worked really well. And I thought, well, I want to get this published so other teachers can find this helpful. Went traditional, tried to get an
Yeah.
educational publisher. No, thank you. No, thank you. But I don't like if people tell me, no, you can't do that. So I figured out how to do it, got an
Right.
illustrator. And just so you know, you can't find it on
Oh, okay.
Amazon yet. I'm just reached out to the illustrator and we're going to re-release this.
Oh,
1998,
nice.
this vintage, vintage, vintage
Oh, that's
book. But
cool.
anyway, we sold about 1,000 copies. hand
Wow.
sold because that's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
things have changed. So when people say, yeah, things have changed recently, oh, things have changed a lot
Yes.
because, and this is on my list, mistakes happen.
Mhm.
Back in the day, no print on demand. You had to go through a printer and you sign off on that everything looked good.
Yep.
We were a month from a big teaching conference that we were going to, and the illustrator called me and she said, "Do you remember seeing this page in the book?" I'm like, what? She's like, "This page. I don't remember seeing it." Well, we approved the first round of books, 5,000 books, with a missing page.
Wow. So
So
easy to do too, because I
yeah,
mean,
because you've seen it. And
you've seen
yeah,
it, yeah. Unless you're just
anyway,
sitting there like page by page comparing to the master,
yeah.
you know.
Yep. So
Wow.
mistakes
Yeah.
happen. They happen then, they happen now. And the only thing you could do is just dust yourself off and keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Use the
it.
mistake somehow. You figure out how
Absolutely.
to use it?
No, we didn't. I
No.
did learn that. I did learn because they were delivered to the conference, not to our
Yeah.
house, that 5,000 picture books takes up a lot of space. They come wheeling in with these pallets of books. I'm like, oh my, is that
Wow.
ours? Oh, so anyway, I'm
5,000
so
too. That's
well because
unreal. Yeah.
it's cheaper, right? Per book.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
cheaper per book if you sell 5,000. No,
Yeah.
as you can see, I still have books.
You
I
have
did not sell 5,000.
4,080.
Yep, yep. Um,
No.
but
No, I'm
print on
kidding.
demand it changed the game. So when I
Yes.
came back into self-publishing in 2014, um, now Vellum wasn't around, Atticus wasn't around, which was a bummer. So I was still formatting in Microsoft Word, which is enough to
Yeah.
make you go
That's
crazy,
yeah.
crazy. And I also took on some other authors. I created a publishing company, published 7 other authors and their books, and published my own. I did everything. Like, look, I know if you're listening to this, you can't see, but a book of essays, a writing
Yeah.
book, children's books. I love variety. Coffee
Yeah.
table books. So I've tried it all. Anyway, um, print on
Yeah.
demand, game changer, as
It
is,
was
and the free draft to digital formatter that you can use as well. If you don't have the funds to buy Atticus or Vellum,
right.
yours is amazing as well.
That's the point of D2D, right? Yeah. Make sure
Yes,
that even the no budget author has tools and resources. And
exactly.
that's what's great
Yes,
about this community. It's not just us,
right.
there's lots of services out there
Yeah.
that are helping those authors who are starting from literally nothing. You got nothing
Yep.
but the pixels in front of you. So yeah, that's the great thing about the community.
Yes.
So what other mistakes did you have to recover from?
I've done a lot. I was thinking, I'm sure I've done it, but I've tried to block it out, hit publish before, like accidentally click publish before you mean to
Yeah,
publish. And
yeah,
then you can't really undo that. So you just gotta like or you can unpublish, but now it's live. Like if you did it on Amazon, now it shows it not available. So stuff happens. There's
yeah.
typos, and that's the other thing. I have so much to share. I'm like, ooh, I just got to talk fast. Um, you'll
Go
never
ahead.
be perfect. You will
Yeah,
never ever be perfect. I have come across authors because I consult with authors as well,
yeah.
and the perfectionists have a really hard time letting go. But it's
Mhm.
not going to do anybody any good if you hold on to that manuscript because you're waiting for that moment for it to be perfect. Those readers out there are going to miss out on it. So you
Yeah,
do the very best you can. Respect your readers by providing a good story. Make sure it's edited. Give it a great cover, and then put it out there. If things come up, the great thing with self-publishing, you can go in and make adjustments. So if you find 10 typos, great, go in and fix it and then republish. That's
yeah.
it.
Do you when you do that, when you correct typos and things, do you create a new edition or do you just update the existing edition?
I just update the existing one because
Hmm.
with Vellum, I just go in and change it, and then it overrides the previous.
Yeah,
It overrides the previous edition, the previous file.
yeah, yeah.
So I probably should
I
save
just
it,
always
but
think about that. Yeah, I guess for me, if I'm doing like major
sure,
changes, like if
sure.
I've saved a bunch of stuff up and I do like, a quarter of the book is new now,
Oh, well,
then
yeah.
that's a new addition. But I always kind of wonder how people handle that. I just update stuff usually.
Yeah.
If someone points out, like, the great thing about my readers, maybe it's great, maybe it's a pain, but they'll let me know when I've got a typo on
Mhm.
page 98, and they let me know very loudly, and so I go fix that. And the ones who let me know by email are the great ones. The ones who let me know because they leave a 1-star review, those are the ones that you just want to smack around a little.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Well,
never
it can be
smack your readers.
helpful, be respectful when, yeah, like proofreading, editing. That's why I always hire an editor because it's not my thing. It's not my forte. I
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
I don't see them half the time. It's horrible. I'll go back and like, I didn't even see that. But
My current work in progress, I think I've reread and rewritten the first like 6 chapters 100 times at this point, and I'm still finding typos. Like,
yeah,
how's that even possible? So,
right. I know.
well,
But you'll never be perfect. Just go for it.
I'm gonna keep working on perfect. I have hope. I have hope for perfect, Kerrie.
You'll
All right. We have some questions.
sure.
Some of which are coming in from the D2D team, but
Oh,
good questions. So Alyssa's
oh,
asking, are those your books behind you? Can we see one or two of your favorite covers,
sure,
please?
sure, absolutely. Okay. And I'm going to show you something really fun, Alyssa. All right, hang on. I, oops. Oh, geez. Sorry, I just lost the screen there.
Oh, well, we can still see you, and I can
Okay.
still hear you. So those are the important
Well,
things.
good. Let me. I know you're there too. It's just weird. Okay. So our Judas Files series.
Yeah.
Well, the cover designer we got for these she is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So there's 5 in this series. It's an urban fantasy series. I just love these. And this is the 3rd version. So this is that learn from something, make adjustments, and move on.
Yeah.
This was not the first version. Oh, do I have it? Well, no, this is at version 2. We did 3 versions because
Okay.
there were in fantasy, there was always this woman holding a fireball of some sort. We're like, oh, let's go with that. But
Yeah.
anyway, but what we're doing now, and I'm just going to plug this since I can, we're doing a Kickstarter and we're doing special editions of the
Oh,
9 because it's
nice.
been out for 5 years. So using 48-hour books and we actually have 2 special editions that we're doing. And my favorite part is this one has 9 full color spreads, and we have color images at the beginning of every chapter. So I'm very excited about that. And then I do love our Space Pirate series too. That took
Well, who
some
doesn't?
adjusting too.
Yeah, who
So
doesn't love a good space pirate though?
exactly.
Yeah.
But thanks for asking, Alyssa.
Those are great. Those look great. And you mentioned 48-hour books. That's not one I'm familiar with. I just went on their website. That's interesting.
Oh,
So they're
yeah.
they're like a book printing service, right? That's
They
cool.
are. I wanted something where we could add like just some special features. It was either the
Mm,
foil or this coating. You can feel it. It's raised. It's hard to convey that through the screen,
yeah.
but and they do they send them out pretty quickly. So
Yeah,
which is
that's
great.
very cool. All
Mhm.
right. Not a sponsor, not necessarily an endorsement, but a cool thing to
It's
check
just
out.
yeah,
I'm
it's
going to
just who I
drop the
use.
link. There's the link in the comments if you want to go check out
Yeah.
48-hour books. Um, Jim Azevedo, you may have heard of this guy. I recall in 2008 to 2010, some authors would upload titles that were not ready. Today's indie authors have really upped their game. Have you
Yes.
seen that? Is this something you've seen as well? Like, I mean, I remember when I first started, covers were horrendous,
Oh,
layout was all over the place,
yeah. Well,
and I
because
was, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
we didn't have the tools and resources we have now. We didn't
Yeah.
have, yeah, we didn't have it. And I did not get in on the big 2011 ebook, 99 cents. To me, it's like the Wild West, right? Everybody just started making claim. They just started dropping stuff in. I've written articles. I'm also a freelancer. I've written articles on the history of publishing. And that was one of those things that was fascinating to look at, is that gold rush time. And then what happens, then you have a new movement, then readers, they're like, okay, just because it's 99 cents or free, it's not worth my time. So readers started expecting better quality, which is great for us. Honestly, it really is, because the people who take the time to put out a good product, we want that to rise above the ones that are just slapping it up there. And I think it really does now. Readers don't care if books are self-published. They do care that it's a good quality.
Yeah. I remember first getting a Kindle when they first came out, the big weird shaped one, the funky one. And I'm like, I need books for this. And there was no way I was going to pay, $10 or even $5 per book.
Right.
I just wanted as many free or 99-cent books as I could get. So, that's where I think a lot of people discovered their favorite self-pub authors was those early days. But that doesn't work anymore. That's just not the way it is anymore.
And I'm really glad. I really am.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. That forcing us all to up our game is kind of the point. That's evolution, and that's what makes this business so great. But now we have another question from coming in from Facebook. I have got very good books on Draft to Digital, but I'm lousy at marketing. Do you have a blueprint for best marketing practices?
I don't know if I necessarily have a blueprint, but if you struggle with marketing, as most people do, take it slow. Do not try to do all of it at one time. Figure out what your strengths are. If you like talking to people, then figure out some speaking events you could do. Get on podcasts if you like that. If the idea of talking to people, even if it's like this through a screen, just terrifies you, then don't do it. Figure out ways you can be a guest blogger, write articles, look at different magazine articles. And my one nonfiction book is, so I'm a little biased here, is how to write magazine articles.
Oh,
but
nice.
You can really build an author platform, fiction or nonfiction, by writing articles. You will reach if somebody reads your article, they resonate with your writing. You have your little byline. It says Kerrie Flanagan is the author of. So you
find that's true with fiction as well? I mean, you're writing what kind of articles are you writing that are promoting your fiction?
If you're doing fiction, then chances are you've done research on things. Even if you're doing sci-fi, fantasy, you've done research. So use that research and figure out what magazines would fit for that. Think about where your readers, what kind of magazines they would read, and then think about the types of articles they'd want to read. Your article may not have a lot to do with your book, maybe just some little snippets or ideas, but you get the byline at the bottom.
Yep.
Go for it.
I did this for a long while with a couple of different publications, history-based publications, because I write mostly archaeological thrillers. So I was doing the same thing. Like, all right, I've got all this information that I know that didn't go in the book. So I sort of treated it like a behind the scenes of the book. And I even used the book as part of the illustration, which gave me plenty of opportunity to pimp it in the article.
Absolutely. That's brilliant. So think of what you're good at and then start with one thing. So if you want to be a guest blogger, then just focus on that for a couple months. If TikTok is the brand new thing, but it doesn't mean you have to be on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter or whatever it's called now. Just find one thing.
I call it Twitter.
Anyway, that to me is the key to marketing. Do one thing at a time, then build from there. Don't try to do 10 things at a time.
That is fantastic advice. That's fantastic advice. Master one thing and then add something else. And that's called a marketing strategy. I think a lot of authors come in thinking they got to do it all. I got to be on Book Talk. I got to have a Twitter presence or whatever we're calling it. And I got to have Instagram and I got to dance and I got to, you don't have to do any of that. You might do all of that, but you don't have to do any of that all at once. So
No.
Jim's back. Jim's got another question. Says, what are some strategies for turning a reader into a fan and a fan into a super fan?
It goes back to those connections.
Yeah.
So if you have your newsletter and somebody responds to your newsletter, then you need to respond back. Whatever, if they have a comment, a question,
Yeah.
they're sharing something, always, always, always respond. And same
Yeah.
thing if you're on social media and somebody comments or has a question, then
Yeah.
always respond to them. So, I mean, that's how you start building that up.
Yeah.
And share, I guess, and I would say, like in your newsletter, you don't even have to share personal things to get to know your readers. I know there are lots of authors that do that, but it was a challenge when there's two of us and I write the newsletter, but I write it as if C.G. Harris is one person.
Yeah.
So we don't share a lot of personal things because there's two of us. And so do what you can, but just always reach out if possible and respond.
Just make up a personal history for your
That's true.
pen name and share personal details about that fictional life. That'd be great. I think that'd be great. I did. One of the most successful email campaigns I did a couple of years ago was to do interviews with my characters.
That's
And
a
so
good idea.
for several weeks, I
Great.
sent an
I
interview
love that.
with each character. And what was funny was they loved it so much they were mad because they weren't long enough interviews. They wanted more in-depth interviews.
That's funny. I love it. I just wrote that down because I'm like
Do
running
it.
out of steam with my newsletter in terms of what do I put next time. I'm going to use that.
Great artist steal.
Yeah.
So the Epic Spire from YouTube says perfect is boring. I agree.
It is.
You should aim for perfection, but always miss. That's the adage.
Right.
Tom Ray says, I started in 2016 replying to a service to publish my work if they sold me $3,000 package. Sold me a $3,000 package with limited distribution. Fortunately, a friend of my pub writers group sent me to D2D. I'm glad he did. We're glad he did too, because we hate seeing people get taken advantage of in this business,
Right.
and there's a lot of it.
And I just want to jump in that there are things that you do need to hire out. If you are not a graphic designer, you do need to hire that out. So, the self-publishing, while it can be free because you can upload to places for free, but definitely invest in the things that you are not as strong in. So covers, editing, please, I can't say it enough, editing, get a copy editor.
But you talked about joining groups. This is where you want to go to find those services, because there are a lot of predatory services out there.
True.
So join a good group and have them recommend cover designers and other things to you. So
absolutely.
This question is for you. Do you consult for book marketing?
I do offer consultations with authors. So if you go to my website, kerrieflanagan.com, and I bet Kevin could pop that right up there.
I'm going to pop that up as soon as I figure out where I put it. Oh, there it is, right there. Find Kerrie. So, kerrieflanagan.com. We'll be popping this up again.
Yeah, and you can also email me directly, and it's just Kerrie at Kerrie Flanagan. No, sorry, Kerrie.Flanagan@gmail. So Kerrie.Flanagan@gmail.com. Feel free to email me, and I can get you more info.
All right, that's perfect. Let's pop back over. I'm starting to get more people pop in with questions. Thank you, everybody. Make sure you drop those in the comments. Lexi says that being a part of an author community is so important because communities are here to protect each other and share safe resources.
Absolutely.
I think is very true.
Yes.
All right. So we've covered quite a bit, but it doesn't sound like 25 years worth. What are some more lessons that have come from your publishing career?
So I'm looking at my list. Okay, imposter syndrome. That's a big one. It's totally real. We all have it. Yeah. And I have found, and I'm not saying it's an easy cure, but the only cure is really to ignore that voice in your head. It really easier said than done. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. But I've heard like big name authors say the same thing, that they feel like, oh gosh, this
Yep.
book is never going to sell. And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, it will,
Yeah.
because your name is on it. So just keep going. Don't let that stop you by any means.
Yeah.
Because we all have those stories inside us, or that expertise to share. And you are the only one that can share it in the way that, with your voice, your writing style. So if you don't put it out into the world, nobody will.
Yeah. That's right.
So, yeah.
Look, if you're going to feel like an imposter anyway, just go ahead and act like
Exactly.
a successful author and do everything successful authors do. If you're going to feel like
Exactly.
a phoney anyway, then just be a successful phony. That's all.
Perfect.
That's all.
I
Yeah.
like it. I like that.
Okay. So yeah, man, imposter syndrome, I deal with it, 70
I do
books into
too.
this business. And I still,
Yep.
every time I publish, I feel like this is the one where they're going to find out that I am literally making this stuff up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What about your writing partner? Like, does it help at all to have someone in the trenches with you when it comes to imposter
Yes,
syndrome?
absolutely. Um, because it's like any good relationship, whether, friends, marriage, whatever, you got to find the right person.
Yeah.
And our partnership works really well because we utilize our strengths. We're not trying to, you know, do everything, each of us, because that's ridiculous. So he is a
Right.
very strong writer and fast. Um, and so we will talk through stories, really kind of map out what the storyline's going to be, and then he'll just jump in and start writing.
Yeah.
And I'm not a very fast fiction writer, honestly. So we'd still be here on book one if it was up to me. So he just takes off. And I love editing. I know I'm
Mm.
weird, like developmental editing, not copy editing.
Yeah.
I don't know where those semicolons go. I have no idea. But with story, I love looking at the big picture for a story. So then I take it and I make any adjustments that I see need to be fixed. And then I also do the formatting and the marketing. So then he can just jump to the next book so that we can
Mm.
just keep going. So using our strengths has helped tremendously in that. And we
Yeah.
trust each other with the work. So I'm not trying, we're not trying to outdo each other or get more attention in one area than another, or take credit for, oh, I wrote that. But it's our stuff, it's our books. And
Yeah.
anyway, I kind of went off on, is that what you were
No,
asking? Oh,
that's
and to have him
exactly.
in the
Yeah.
trenches. So, if we put something out there and we realize, oh, geez, there's 10 typos, then I
Yeah.
can go to him and whine a little bit, and we can commiserate and then put it out there,
Yeah.
and encourage each other. Like, yeah, this Kickstarter that we're doing now, it is freaking me out. I'm not usually one to freak out. I usually just throw things out there like, oh, let's see what happens. But this is freaking
Mhm.
me out a little. So it's nice
I
to have
think,
somebody else.
yeah, I mean, I've co-authored a few things over the years, mostly with Nick Thacker,
Hmm.
and it is kind of nice that I'm not
Yes,
the one on the hook for all of it all the time.
exactly. Right.
So
Right.
yeah,
I do love
that's a
it.
very good point. Yeah. What you have any advice on finding the right co-author?
Um, you really, I had worked with Chuck before, that he was seeking traditional publishing. He's 10 years. He just kept at it, and he's so talented. But so I had worked with him on some of his writing, so I knew he was a great writer. And then we became friends, and then would help each other. So he would read my articles. He helped me with my magazine writing book.
Hmm.
It just kind of progressed. So if you're looking for someone, that would be hard to just like put out a call. You need like a match.com for co-authors, right? Where you can go in and you can put your
Oh,
profile and find somebody, because you do have to trust each other completely.
yeah.
You really do. Because especially you're
What an
dealing with money
interesting idea.
too.
Yeah, 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 exactly. There's not, and not just money, but like recurring money. Like,
Yes.
it's
Right.
one thing when you invest in something and, it falls apart at the beginning and no harm, no foul. But
Right. Right.
especially as you build that career over time, you become
Yeah.
more and more dependent on that person to really continue to carry their weight, which
Yep.
can be a little intimidating.
Mm, yeah. But
So,
I love it.
Good. All right. Well, what are, you got to have more lessons than that. You got a whole list. What have we not hit on your list
Okay.
yet?
Okay. Take risks. Don't be afraid to take risks within reason. I mean, you don't want to go, okay, I've heard Facebook ads work. I'm going to drop $10,000 this month. No,
Ooh,
don't be ridiculous.
yeah.
But
Wow.
be okay taking some small risks. And if you are risk averse, then do baby steps.
Yeah.
Maybe just sharing your manuscript with somebody. That can cause a lot of people a lot of stress. But just take little steps and keep going and just try it. Like this Kickstarter, it feels like a huge risk, but I just got to do it. And I'm like, all right, we'll see what happens. We'll learn.
What is it? What is it about the Kickstarter specifically that feels like a risk? What is that?
Because you listen to people and are like, well, you got to make sure you put it out for pre-launch. You got to make sure you do this. And it seemed like there were all these rules that went along with it. And if it doesn't fund, I mean, really, if it doesn't fund, then people aren't charged. So we really don't lose a lot. But I have no idea why this one, as I've published 20 books. This, on the other hand, has felt different than anything.
Yeah.
Because
you've never done a Kickstarter before, right? This is the first time?
Right.
Yeah. So that's why. I mean, it's new.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We'll
I'm
see what
intimidated.
happens.
The whole Kickstarter thing intimidates me. I really want to do it. I actually think that it would be easier if I were doing something like that with a writing partner. Because at least then you can split duties, you can support each other, you can encourage each other, you can nag each other. I know me, like I'm gonna start researching it like I always do. Every 3 months or so, I start researching how to do a Kickstarter. And then after a couple of days, it's like, yeah, I got books to write, So
it was a lot of work, but we'll see. I'll keep you posted.
Good. Any last ones that you want to throw one more in? We're getting close to wrapping up. You want to throw in one more piece of wisdom?
I just want to. Well,
we're gonna talk about your stuff too. Yeah.
Oh, sure. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
There's always more to learn in this business, that's for sure. And do your best to stay up on it. There's so much that's once again, you can't soak it all in. But understand what you're getting into with self-publishing if you have not done it before. And then just stay on top of it, because if you don't, you may fall behind, but you're also going to miss out on some really cool opportunities. When you, with Draft to Digital rolling out the print, that was in beta. And, if you hadn't been staying on top of things, you might not have known that. But if you do, you have the opportunity to be part of these, ground level things that like people are trying. So just stay on top of it, stay connected, keep going. Don't give up. I think I don't know if you can see it on the top there. My little sign is be relentless. Just keep going. Just keep going. That's how you're going to make it.
Good. I need a sign that says be inevitable. That's mine. So I stole that from Thanos in the Avengers movies, though. So, all right. Well, look, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. We're at time, but for everybody watching, first of all, make sure that you go to kerrieflanagan.com. There's links. People have been sharing links in the comments. So if you happen to be listening to this podcast, it's Kerrieflanagan.com. Play that back at half speed, but pull over first, okay? Whatever you're doing, pull over. Be safe. And you can find Kerrie's books and her co-authors' books at cgharris.net. That's where you post your sci-fi and fantasy books. But we got one more, and this one I think is gonna. We had some people ask some questions about this kind of thing, so I think this is going to be a good one. But why don't you tell us just a little bit about the Self-Publishing Academy on September 9th?
So on September 9th, I have my 3-hour Self-Publishing Academy. So this is like, if you have questions or you just haven't taken that leap yet, I go from start to finish. So we go step by step through the whole process, looking at, is your book ready? What does it take to get it ready? How do you upload to platforms like Draft to Digital? So I have screenshots. I show you how to do it. how to get the book out there. And then we do cover marketing and like, all right, once your book's out there, what are the next steps? And then I connect you in a Facebook group of other people who have taken my self-publishing academy. So you get that community. You get a 30-minute consultation with me as part of that because everybody has their own individual questions. I'm passionate about helping authors get started like do a strong start, put out a high quality book and find success that way. So that's what's happening on September 9th.
Strong
and
starts
it's online.
To strong finishes.
It's
online,
yes.
September 9th. And if you go to kerrieflanagan.com/writing-workshops, that's where you're going to find that. I'm sure there's a link on your homepage if they just happen to wander to your homepage, right?
Yep.
So
there is.
Plus links to cgharris.net are on that page. So the funnel here is really kerrieflanagan.com. So that's great, Kerrie. Thank you so much for being a part of the show and for sharing 25 years. Doesn't seem like you could possibly have 25 years worth of experience, but thank you for sharing that with everybody.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun.
Everybody else, thank you for tuning in. And of course, if you like this kind of stuff, if you like this kind of content, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. That's YouTube law. Demands that I tell you to do all of that. And also make sure that you are bookmarking d2dlive.com because every week we have one of these. Every Thursday we have a live stream that will eventually become a podcast. You can subscribe to the podcast everywhere that you listen to podcasts, Spotify, wherever. We mentioned Spotify because they're a friend of show. But make sure that you're checking that out. And beyond that, we're going to play a little ad spot here at the end, Kerrie. So you hang out.
Okay.
And everyone else, thank you so much for being a part of Self-Publishing Insiders Live with Draft to Digital. We love having you. We hope that this stuff is helping you up your game as an author. And please share it with your friends and check back with us every week. So until next time, see you soon. Ebooks are great, but there's just something about having your words in print. Something you can hold in your hands, put on a shelf, sign for a reader. That's why we created D2D Print, a print-on-demand service that was built for you. We have free, beautiful templates to give your book a pro look, and we can even convert your ebook cover into a full wraparound cover for print. So many options for you and your books. And you can get started right now at draftedigital.com.